All right, hello people.
Hey.
This is Uche once again. Thank you for tuning in to the show, and I'm here with an elder in the industry.
That's very good.
His name is Mr. Tolu Ajayi. We've done a number of projects together. Mr. Tolu, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Uche. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. If I was to give this a topic, I would say this topic is the art director and the director.
Okay.
Understanding the director's mindset and figuring out how best to bring to life the vision of the director.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what we should do, because there's so many aspects to what we do, and if we started to talk about how we would function, it would be difficult to have it all in a couple of minutes. So I think what we can do is let's take one project we did as a case study and then talk about how we proceeded with that. And I feel like the one that that is dear to my heart is The Encounter.
Okay, yeah. The Encounter was a great, was amazing. I think what's very fundamental, we've known each other, worked together for quite a while, is because I came from the background of an illustrator, and I like to build worlds, but it's very it's crazier when you have someone who is right there. One of the most surprising things was a sketch you did of Ojuku's office.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, the sketch. You always say that thing. Something that was in my head. I captured what was my head, which is a cliche. But it was. I remember being completely blown away, and I think I was wondering whether I would be able to live up to the promise that was in the drawing, because I'm a pre-visualization guy. I like to see it before we get on set. And I think the only thing we discussed at length was a curve, because I wanted the whole thing to be, like the U shape. Yeah. And you had introduced one curve, which I felt the camera would create a curve.
Yes.
For.
Yes. And
that was the only conversation we had. It was spot on, and you came back with another sketch, and voila, we had an office.
Yeah. I think one of the most significant things to note about Ojuku's office / bunker was that we needed to have elements of the ongoing war in his office, in his space, because we needed to see that they were at a phase where things were quite hectic as far as their experiences with the war was concerned. So it doubled as a storage space as well, with ammunition and all those kind of things. Then also, we didn't want it to be two-dimensional. We didn't want it to be flat. We wanted layers to that space. I remember. So there was an entrance from a corridor, and then there was a smaller outer space, and then his office was in
like
the
L-shape.
So there were three layers, three segments of that set. Yes, I remember.
I've not had the chance to talk about that space. There's something that I didn't remember, and this is why you need. It's very important that when you do have the member of your team that's also an artist. I think we have too many. Sometimes we have too many people who are craftsmen and not artists. People who know how to do the work and are good at it, but the artistic part. So there was one thing you introduced, which wasn't even what I asked for, but in our conversations, I talked about the idea of extinction. I think that came up in the conversation.
Yes.
That this and you put on the table.
Yes.
If you watch the film, there was a bird, the emu.
Yes, the emu. Exactly. I remember. I remember.
So I said, what's this stuffed bird doing on the desk? Said that Sato, you took the extinction. I was gobsmacked. I was like, yeah. So these are the metaphors, these are the elements that you make it on set.
Yes, it was one of the significant things that we did. I remember, because we portrayed him as an image of a species that was going out, and that was the reason for that. But it was also about giving more body to the time, because it was a period production. So the emu sort of, represented
Absolutely.
something that was,
Absolutely.
in the past, way back, at that time. And it just seemed quite fitting to be on his table as one of the elements that, you would pick.
It did.
If you were...
It did. Then the chessboard. So that so we think grandly about production design. Okay, then you narrow it down a little bit more to location.
Yes.
And you now start to dress the set with props.
Yes.
And there's 3 levels of storytelling.
Okay.
One, we're doing a period piece that I think our biggest struggle was making sure that we found pieces that related to that time.
Sure.
On the very tiny budget we had for the film.
Yes.
And now locking. Okay. Now how do we take people from? I think it was 2015 Nigeria or 2014.
It was I think late 2015 if I remember correctly, and we were taking people back to 1967.
Okay. So we start outside with. We initially wanted 2 trucks. We had to get a Mercedes. Ojukwu swinging into the office. Building the little dungeon where Ifeanyi Juna was.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then the actors, of course, now started to tell the tale of that interaction. Then we swing into Ojukwu's office. That is this bunker. That is this bunker is his last refuge.
Yeah.
And what that space created was for us to be able to tell the story, because the entire film was supposed to be two-hander, which is basically 2 people having a long conversation.
Exactly.
But it extended into other...
Yes, I think it was essential to introduce those other sets to sort of give credibility to where we were and when we were where we were. So production design on that project answered the question of where we were, why we were there, who these characters were, what was the major incident that brought these characters in that place at the time, which was why when we did a location recce, we found an exterior that was befitting of that time.
Yeah.
It was a period structure, and it made it easier for us to find the fusion between live locations and extensive set construction.
Because the 2 locations, the exterior location was very different from the interior location.
Yes, so in terms of proximity.
The proximity, 2 different places, so we were all shot on different days.
True.
Another detail, which we kind of fudged around a little bit, the Goloi cigarettes, which you had to create the pack.
Yes.
The details.
Yes.
I think the only part we didn't, we sort of fudged it a little bit. Golois aren't filtered, but
true.
But the cigarettes we had to get were not real cigarettes. They were they were fake cigarettes that had
fake cigarettes.
And they only came with filters. So the character ended up doing that.
It was a subtle modification. I think we were able to get away with that.
I think so,
because of already the pack from which the cigarette came from, which already had the right look, and it put us in the right time.
Absolutely.
And that it was a key element in further describing who this character was and where his mindset was as regards the war and all that.
I also wanted to talk to you about one of the things we really enjoyed when we were making the encounter was the idea that I didn't necessarily feel like I was alone on the journey of creating, and that you were actively in the same mental space with me.
Yes.
And you were also like filling in the jigsaw puzzle. I felt it was happening, and as I was thinking of one layer of story, there was also another layer of story, and I felt that connection that we made on that film was
I agree with you, because and I think that it's a lesson for art directors and production designers. When you're shooting something that is not entirely commercial, if you're shooting a short film or a feature film, I think you need to emotionally connect to the story. It will help you, it will push you and motivate you to come up with new ideas and all that. It would juggle up your creativity, more or less, and that was what happened for both of us, because at a point it ceased to just be us trying to find information for the film, and it went on to us actually asking ourselves questions about what we found out, and those things helped us, in the way that we approach, in the way that we approach the story. Some of the elements we introduced weren't necessarily things that we planned to put in there in the first place, but because of some of the stuff we knew, we realized that it just came to us. Some of those things. It was really
active physical and mental collaboration, and you're not just doing it just because it was problem solving. Then I know the elements in that movie that were a function of your passion.
True.
Of saying this is an aspect of this story that I too want to tell, and I feel that to a certain extent you need to feel that energy too in the film also radiates onto the screen of that active participation in creation of the film.
Because I think it's also influenced all the other key members of the team, including the actors as well, because they saw the energy that we put in, they saw the elements that we introduced, and it inspired a lot of them.
You know what they say about people that act on green screen, that a lot of actors have complained about, that it doesn't give them anything to react to. I remember when the actors actually first came on the set, because they are built it then, they felt like the characters, they felt they could play the characters.
Exactly. They felt like they were transported into those places, and they started to see themselves in the right light that they needed to see themselves in order for them to perform more effectively as those characters.
Well, I mean, Uche, we must do this again. We have to make another period piece.
Yes, we should. Yes, we should.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for coming. Uche. Thank you very much, viewers. That's all that we have for this episode. I'll see you next time.